Oh, I think we had an audio issue there. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us. Thanks so much for spending part of your Monday night with us here on the Great America Show. It was an eventful weekend for ICE, for truth, justice, in the American way. We're going to get to everything that happened over the weekend, everything that's happening this week here in America. Wednesday, we're going to be live from Washington, D.C. with Congresswoman Nancy Mace, Congressman James Comr, and Congressman Jim Jordan. We're going to have some great discussions. If you guys got any questions you want me to ask, any of them, shoot me a tweet. Twitter at John Fawcett NY. You could also always email us at info@loudobbs.com. Happy to consider some of your questions as an appreciation token for you joining us here each and every day on the Great America Show. So as I said, over the weekend, it was a massive day or weekend for ICE. ICE did their largest targeted operation in history in Massachusetts, Boston particularly, netting almost 1,500 arrests of illegals in the greater Boston area. Here is the acting ICE director talking about just what his agents go through on a daily basis.
The brave men and women of ICE, CBP, ATF, DEA, Diplomatic Security Service, and the U.S. Marshals have to go out and pick up some of the most horrible criminals that are roaming free in Massachusetts. These are just some of them. A child sex offender that was previously deported that was released by a local agency but was back living across the street from a playground. A sex trafficker that was arrested for raping a child that was re-released back into the community. A habitual drunk driver who, in the midst of his drunk driving, kidnapped a child. Theft from, we had one person that was previously deported that was stealing from disabled senior citizens. Not only that, but they got several convicted murderers, rapists, spouse abusers, child abusers, and drug traffickers. You can see their mugshots, which are all up here on the photo, and I really want everyone to see that. Because not only did they enter our country illegally, but they were released back into our community by elected officials and sanctuary jurisdictions that did not want to turn these individuals over to ICE. I really want everyone to see their faces and know what's going on.
You often hear people asking, is this what you voted for? Is that what you voted for? And yes, I think it's overwhelmingly what we voted for. You heard him just lay out a few of the cases there of these 1,500 illegal aliens who were arrested and probably on their way to deportation right now. Donald Trump promised us he was going to do this. He ran on the campaign promise that he was going to do the largest mass deportation in American history. Tom Homan was out on television every single day saying it. This wasn't something that came after November 5th or January 20th, where he said all of a sudden we're going to start rounding up people and deporting them. This is something he promised since he decided he was going to run for re-election. So it should come as no surprise. But the Marxist Dems and CNN are having a very tough time, I think, coping with what's going on. Just last week, an illegal alien, or CNN likes to call them an undocumented immigrant or an undocumented migrant, had written a letter to President Trump that he was going to kill him. Now, I guess if, he wasn't almost assassinated a first time or a second time, you can just maybe brush it off and say the guy's an idiot. Not exactly the right thing to do, but he's had 2 assassination attempts on his life. So you go on to CNN, Stephen Miller's on CNN, which he likes to go and hang out with the Devil's Playground, and just how much these Marxist Dems on CNN stand up for these illegal aliens. Take a listen.
Undocumented migrant sent a letter threatening to kill the president, promising to self-deport after the assassination. CNN reporting shows that investigators believe the migrant was set up. It was a victim of a setup. What is the administration going to do now? And this is an undocumented immigrant. I do want to note that, but this was someone who came forward, was a victim of a crime, and now law enforcement believes he was set up. Go ahead.
Well, I want to clarify what you mean, so we're talking about the same thing. Are you saying this immigrant was here illegally?
Yes, but I am, and that's why I said that. I clarified that.
You said undocumented, and I wasn't clear what that means. I'm assuming they have a fake ID. I'm assuming they have a fake social security number.
That's neither here nor there. That's getting away from the
question,
Stephen. I want this to be and call me naive, a good faith discussion about what's happening right
but
now.
When we use language that's designed to obscure the truth, that's not good faith.
All right,
an illegal
does this
alien
risk...
is an illegal alien. They're not an undocumented migrant.
Okay, that's fine. That's another discussion for another date.
I don't know the details of the assassination threat. All I can say, based on what you're telling me, is there's an illegal alien in our country who's making menacing threats. Regardless of the facts or circumstances, we don't want him here. We're going to get to the bottom of it, and I would gladly come back on when I have more information to share with you.
They were set up, just to be clear. But quickly,
So
where is the White House on habeas corpus?
The illegal alien was treated unfairly. Yes, I'm sure the illegal alien was treated very unfairly.
Where is...
He was set up. This is what we're up against. I mean, it's absolutely berserk. That CNN anchor, I don't even know what her name is, calls the illegal immigrant a victim of a crime. He was a victim of a setup. I mean, what does this world come to? It's not just asinine, it's totally absurd. It's ridiculous. The mainstream media and their protection of illegal immigrants is absolutely absurd. By the way, folks, we're live tonight, so any questions, comments, concerns, post them in the chat, and we will try to get to your comments and questions throughout the show. Any questions you guys have. As I said, we're going to be live down in D.C. on Wednesday, getting some answers from members of Congress to figure out what in the world is going on down there, the budget, this illegal immigration, all that good stuff, because there's so many questions that need to be asked. Let's go to our first question here, or comment from Sandy over on Facebook. They can't stand success. Get those illegals out. We voted for Trump for that reason. Yes, that's merely, I mean, the numbers that you see continuously still coming out of think tanks, Pew Research, Rasmussen, wherever you get your polling, doesn't matter how left-wing that polling operation is, Americans overwhelmingly support mass deportations. And I sound like a broken record, but Donald Trump ran on this. He ran that he was going to deport as many illegals as he possibly could. Now, there is a humanitarian side to it. We all have hearts, and we all feel bad for the people who came here illegally or were brought here illegally. But at the end of the day, you're here illegally. We are a nation of law, order, and rules. I was speaking to somebody on the phone today, a very close friend who's heavily in politics, and he said to me, we should be deporting the criminals and not the people who are here to work hard. And I said to him, well, how do you decipher the two? Because if you came here illegally, you're a criminal. You may have come to not commit crime. You may have come to work hard and make money and send it back to your family. Doesn't mean you're not a criminal. That's the definition. It's not me being insensitive to the fact. It's not any of us being insensitive to the fact. The fact is that you're here illegally and you're not supposed to be. So I continued on the conversation, and I said to him, what about those people who waited years to become a U.S. citizen, paid the price, figured out what it was really like to become an American citizen? Is it fair to do to them? Is it fair to do to those people who waited years, paid thousands of dollars, had to study for a test? Is it fair to do to them? Because I don't think so. And I think Donald Trump doesn't think so either, which is why he's taken such a hard stance on illegal immigration. It's illegal. You hear on CNN, undocumented this, undocumented. No. You're here illegally. You're an illegal alien. There's no other way to put it. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. It doesn't get much more simple than that. But, as I said, CNN is having a very, very tough time coping with the reality of what it is Donald Trump promised to make America great again. He promised he was going to get this country back on the right track. And, there was 2 months ago or so where it was a little turbulent in the stock market. And you heard the Democrats and the mainstream media cheering that he was going to lose. He was losing his base, cheering that the stock market was going to collapse. I spent a lot of time on the road and golfing with someone the other day, sat there with a straight face and told me he was praying the markets collapsed, praying that the stock market collapsed. And you sit here and you think, are these people that mentally deranged? Do they hate their country that much that they want the orange man to fail. It's a mental sickness. And Donald Trump has these people in a total tailspin. Now, the thing that I wake up every day and wonder is, what are they going to do for the next 3.5 years, over 3.5 years, with Donald Trump as the president? I mean, he's got so much stuff done in this short few month period since taking over, surrounded by some of the most brilliant people in the White House he's ever had by his side. Stephen Miller, you often hear, one of them. But what are these people going to do for the next 3.5 years? Are they going to wake up every single morning with one of those voodoo dolls and start sticking the pins in it? Because it's not normal. We all dealt with Joe Biden for 4 years. We dealt with the wrath. We dealt with the embarrassment on the world stage. We dealt with it all. And we came out here and, we laid out our disdain, myself, the great Lou Dobbs. And we moved on with our lives. We tried to make it, as best as possible for everybody in very trying times. But we weren't mentally deranged. I know I didn't want to see Joe Biden going out there falling flat on his face every day. As a human being, as a patriot of this country, I didn't find any great enjoyment in that. I didn't find any great enjoyment in finding out that Joe Biden had prostate cancer, regardless of how evil the man is and what he did to this country and what he did to Donald Trump. And I think probably most of you people out there didn't either, because we're normal human beings. We're not mentally deranged like these people. But there's people out there on the Democratic side who sit and wish that Donald Trump gets a bullet put through his head every single day. Think about that for a second, folks. Think about it. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of this quick break, there's so much more to come to the budget. We're taking your questions. Kash Patel out with some new news. You might find it interesting. The Biden auto pen scandal is only getting worse. We're going to take all of that up. Poland's got a new president. There's so much more to talk to you guys about tonight. We're coming right back with the Great America Show. Get your questions in. We're going to take as many as we possibly could, as always. We're coming right back. Stay with us.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that we're making it through. My employees and I want to thank you for your continued support by extending our wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows only $14.98. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.98. But it gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows $29.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including my standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98, Kings only $1 more. Not only that, order $75 or more, ship absolutely free. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
Thanks for staying with us, folks. And by the way, I got a phone call from Mike Lindell earlier this morning, thanking you. He was on the show last week, thanking you guys. We did a massive amount of numbers of people buying products at mypillow.com and using promo code John. So Mike asked me to come out here and thank you all tonight for the kindness and generosity and believing in the MyPillow product. I say it all the time. I don't practice what I don't preach. I use all the MyPillow products and I love them. Let's get back to some of your questions here over on Facebook. We've got Marilyn Bitler. Yes, they are all mentally deranged. I couldn't agree with you more. I don't know about all of them, but an overwhelming majority of them are, especially these people who I said are rooting against the country, rooting for the death of anybody. Mental derangement, I think, is probably going far too nice. Carl Grandandy over on Facebook. These CNN jerks always try to smother, drown out any member of the Trump team by consistent blather instead of waiting for them to make their point. I was hoping Stephen Miller would tell that motor mouth to shut up until he was finished speaking. Yeah, that's exactly what they do because, television, I spent 5 years working in television and, I didn't realize what we do here is called long form, where we can come out here and we can spend an hour if we want talking, whether it's with the guest or here just solo. And I didn't realize until I was on Newsmax about 2 weeks ago with how much I dislike television. You've got about 3 minutes, 4 minutes to make your point. And then in that 3 or 4 minutes, they can pull a 30-second soundbite that makes you look absolutely terrible or make their point the way they want to make their point. And I can happily say I would never go back into working for television. It's a very deceptive business. It's a very tough business. And, they do whatever they want. And, like I said, you've got 3 minutes to answer a question, and the host can go ahead and grandstand and do whatever they want. And you just got to sit there and you have nothing to say. Speaking of CNN, the poll numbers, we spoke about illegal immigration earlier in the show, or as CNN calls it, undocumented victims or undocumented migrants, whatever they like to say. CNN's that lead pollster, the guy they have talking about the polls, the guy by the name of Harry Enton, was on the network today, and he can't seem to figure out why the Democratic poll numbers are just so bad. I think he says flabbergasted. Let's listen in.
After all of the waves, Kate Baldwin, after the last few months, the first 5 months of the Donald Trump presidency, right, the first 4 months of the Donald Trump presidency, that you expect that Democrats would have this massive lead on the economy. It ain't so. It ain't so. The party that is closest to your economic views, in November of 2023, it was the Republicans by 11 points. Now it's still within that range, still within that margin of error. Plus 8-point advantage for the Republican Party. How is that possible, Democrats? How is that possible after all the recession fears, after the stock market's been doing all of this, after all the tariffs that Americans are against, and Republicans still hold an 8-point lead on the economy? Are you kidding me? If it was just this one CNN poll, that would be one thing. But take a look at Reuters Ipsos. What do we see here? Party with a better economic plan. Well, in May of 2024, just before Donald Trump was reelected president, Republicans had a 9-point advantage. Look at where we are now in May of 2025. The advantage actually went up by 3 points. Now Republicans have a 12-point advantage when it comes to the party with a better economic plan. And again, this is after months of supposed economic uncertainty in which the stock market's been going bonkers, in which the tariff wars that Americans are against have been going on. And yet, despite all of that, the Democrats are down by 12 points on the economy. This speaks to Democratic problems on the economy better than basically anything that you could possibly look at. The Republicans still hold an advantage on the all-important key issue of the day, which is the party of the middle class, has been a huge advantage for Democrats. I have polling from NBC going all the way back since 1989, when Democrats had a 23-point advantage. 2016, a 17-point advantage. But by this decade, we already started seeing declines back in 2022, where you saw that Democrats led, but only by 4 points, well within the margin of error. And now in our latest CNN poll among registered voters, which is the party of the middle class, it is tied. This, I think, speaks to Democratic ills more than anything else. They have traditionally been the party of the middle class. No more. Donald Trump and the Republican Party have taken that mantle away, and now a key advantage for Democrats historically has gone adios amigos, and now there is no party that is the party of the middle class. Republicans have completely closed the gap, Kate.
Is anyone surprised? He talks about the stock market. All the indices, the 3 major indexes, are up since November 5th. Now, like I said, there have been some turbulent times, but it's because Donald Trump is tasked with undoing trade deals that have been in this country for the last 25 years. So nothing's going to come easy. And nobody said it was going to come easy. We saw what happened the first time around. It's turbulent, and then it gets better. And when it gets better, it gets really better. But CNN, I think some of these people over there are starting to see the writing on the wall. You see Jake Tapper out here each and every day talking about Biden's mental decline and how he knew and this and that. But he waited till Joe Biden decided not to run for president. He decided till Kamala Harris lost to come out and talk about it. By the way, I think he said this week he didn't even vote for Joe Biden, which I'm not entirely sure is true. It seems like a lie on his part. But they're all trying to hide under this fake guise now that they're not like Marxist Democrats, and they are. Don't take my word for it. Go watch their programming every single day. We've got a comment over on the Rumble channel, straight for 289. If not the dumbing down of America, no one would vote Democrat. You're absolutely right. Whether it be the lies and deception the media tells you, or what Chuck Schumer comes out and tells you, or Joe Biden coming out in 2020 saying you're not black if you don't vote for him. I mean, they literally made a mockery of everybody and everything in this country. You're not black if you don't vote for me? And the black community took offense to that, which is why Donald Trump's numbers among the black community were through the roof relative to every single other Republican in history. Because they know that Donald Trump is the middle-class president, the president that cares about the middle class, that cares about middle-class wages, that cares about the blue-collar worker. The Democrats pretend like they do, but the voters, I think, really smartened up over this last election. Hispanics down in Florida, numbers we've never seen before for a Republican. Everyone's under this impression that Donald Trump is doing deportations and the Hispanic community hates him. No, only the ones that are here illegally probably don't like him as much as those who did it the legal way. Understandable, right? But the mainstream media wants to paint it that Donald Trump is this racist president, that he's this, that he's that. Any adjective they can throw at him is what they've done for the last 10 years. Most of it has been lies, but they've paid the price. They're paying the price right now, and they've paid the price. They got clobbered last election, and if the Republicans can get their act together this time around for this coming midterm election, they've got some time. I'm not optimistic just based on what I'm seeing and hearing, but they've got some time to get their act together to show the American people that they're actually working and not just sitting on their asses in D.C. They can win a midterm election against all odds, against all statistics and numbers. But they've got to get off their rear ends. They've gotten far too complicit, thinking that everything's good. And then you got to wonder, do they really want to hold the majority? Does Mike Johnson really want to hold the majority? Because, one can argue, looking at some of these numbers, that they don't seem like they care. They don't seem like they care about holding the majority. It doesn't make much sense. We're going to try to get some answers, like I said, on Wednesday when we're down in D.C. for some meetings and interviews about where the Republican Party's moving. What's their plan? What's their plan for the midterms? What's their plan for relaying message to the American voters who sent them there? And so on and so forth. We're going to take one more quick break here, folks. When we come back, we're going to talk about that budget battle. Poland's got a new president, the Biden auto pen scandal, Kash Patel with some new information about January 6th, all of that and much, much more. If you have questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section. We're coming right back with the Great America Show.
Just like all of you, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. I'd flip-flop all night, use my arm for support, and fall asleep, or I'd wake up with a sore neck or maybe a headache. Well, quality sleep comes from keeping your neck straight at night. You have to fill in that space between your head and your bed. That's why I invented MyPillow. MyPillow's patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it doesn't matter if you sleep on your back, stomach, side, or any combination of all three.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night, and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get Classic King MyPillows for only $19.98. Queen size just $18.98. Standard Classic MyPillows only $14.98. That's right, only $14.98. Plus all orders $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Thanks for staying with us, folks, here on the Great America Show. And once again, happy Monday. We always appreciate you spending part of your Monday or any night of the week with us here on the Great America Show. Like I said, we're taking your questions. Feel free to put them in the comment section wherever you're joining us, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, wherever. The budget battle is on. The House passed that big, beautiful bill with massive tax cuts renewed for the American people, along with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on car loan payments as long as the car is made here in America. But the Senate is going to have a little bit of a tough time because of a bunch of rhinos over there. Russ Vought, the OMB director, was on, you guessed it, CNN. And CNN just can't seem to fathom that Donald Trump is working for the American people and he's working for the America First agenda. Let's listen in.
Let's talk about the budget. That was the budget to come, but I want to talk about what has been going on with Doge and what Elon Musk has already done. He says it was $175 billion in cuts, and these are cuts to funding and programs that Congress already passed, already signed into law, the law of the land, before you took office. You say that you're going to submit about $9 billion in cuts this week for Congress to approve, to make those cuts that you've already done official, largely in foreign aid and public broadcasting. But you're hearing from members of Congress on both sides of the aisle that they want you to submit approval for all of the cuts that you've done through DOGE. Will you?
We might. We want to see how this first bill does. We want to make sure it's actually passed. It's the first of many rescissions bills. Some we may not actually have to get Congress to pass the rescissions bills.
Why?
Some we have executive tools. We have impoundment, that 200 years of presidents had the ability and the recognition that they had the ability to spend less than the ceiling. If you have $100 million that Congress says we want you to go and use for particular use and you can do it less, for 200 years that was totally appropriate. And since the 1970s that has changed and has led to massive waste, fraud, and abuse. Secondly, the very Impoundment Control Act itself allows for a procedure called pocket rescissions later in the year to be able to bank some of these savings without the bill actually being passed. It's a provision that has been rarely used, but it is there, and we intend to use all of these tools. We want Congress to pass it where it's necessary. We also have executive tools, and that is something we're going to be working with Congress. But it's very important to pass this bill and to see whether there is a will on both the House and the Senate to secure the votes for it.
Let me just unpack a couple of things that you said. First, you said that there is 200 years of precedent of presidents taking what Congress passed, and of course, people who are watching this know that the Constitution says that it is Congress that has the power of the purse, which is why we're even having this discussion.
They have the power.
Well, that's what I want to ask you about. So there's some dispute about the 200 years, but most importantly, a law passed in 1974 because of this dispute that you mentioned, the Impoundment Act. And so because of that law, which has now been in place for more than 50 years, it is the requirement of the executive branch, except for in situations where you're having discussions with Congress, to implement what is signed into law. I know you don't believe that that is constitutional. So are you just doing this in order to get the Supreme Court to rule that unconstitutional?
We're certainly not taking impoundment off the table. We're not in love with the law. It's a law that came after 200 years of precedent in history at the lowest moment of the executive branch. But even the very Impoundment Control Act, notice it's not called the Impoundment Elimination Act. Even Congress at the time realized that impoundments were perfectly legal and appropriate. They were saying the Impoundment Control Act. Even the Impoundment Control Act allows for procedures that both require their assent on a rescissions bill. That's the one that we're sending up early this week. And also allow for pocket rescissions for those that come later in the fiscal year. They say you're
breaking, Congress says that you're just breaking the law.
Well, they're wrong. We are not breaking the law. Every part of the federal government, each branch, has to look at the Constitution themselves and uphold it. And there's tension between the branches, and I don't doubt that Congress is going to make accusations. Some of them come by their own watchdogs, but those watchdogs have been historically wrong. And that's not going to stop us from moving forward to bank the DOGE cuts.
I want to sort of bring this up bigger picture a little bit, because this is part of a very clear strategy that you have had for years and years and years in order to really cut the federal government and do it in any way you can, and also to pull as much power into the executive branch as possible. You're very open about that. One of the things that you said in 2023 was specific to federal workers. I want to play that for our viewers.
We want the bureaucrats to be traumatically affected. We want, when they wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because they are increasingly viewed as the villains. We want to put them in trauma.
Is that your goal as OMB director?
Look, I love how you jerry-picked the quote on trauma. What I was referring to there was the bureaucracy. We do believe there's weaponized bureaucracy. We do believe that there are people who have been part of administrations that are fundamentally woke and weaponized against the American people. When you have the EPA...
And there you have it. My point exactly about television and how deceptive they are. Picking a 30-minute clip, 30-second clip, to shape something how they want to shape. And they do. They're deceptive. But like I said, Donald Trump's got the smartest people I think he's ever had around him in this White House he has right now. Russ Vought, Stephen Miller, among two of the top. So, I mean, the Marxist Dems are in total disarray. The Trump derangement syndrome is through the roof. These people are totally mentally deranged. And they cannot seem to get themselves out of this hole. But, like I said earlier in the show, they've got 8 years. 8 years of the Trump presidency, but 3.5 years left of the Trump presidency. What are they going to do for 3.5 years? I fear for these people and what they're going to do to this country. They're completely irrational people. Speaking of irrational, Poland's got a new president, conservative nonetheless, winning a monumental election over there. And it's probably because they see what it's like here in America. They see everything that's going on right now in France and in Germany, the mass migration of illegals overflowing into the country. And Poland, the people have, said, no, thank you. We've seen what it's done to America. We see how hard it is for them to get them out. We see what it's happening right now in France, in the riotings going on in France. No, thank you. No, we're gonna go ahead and then be on our own. And who knows? Maybe Poland secedes from the EU to not have to deal with the implementation of these radical laws. So congratulations to Poland. You guys are well on your way now to making Poland great again, just as America is on its way to being great again. If that makes any sense. Kash Patel did an interview last week and brought up something that we talk about often here on this show, January 6th, and everything that went on with it. I'm fully convinced that the riots and the fighting and the breaking of windows and violence was done by a set group of either Antifa and the FBI or federal informants, or one or the other, influenced by one or the other. Kash Patel, in an interview this week, letting us in on possibly what he has to release. Let's take a listen.
But more importantly, people have had questions about January 6th and whether or not there were FBI sources, not agents, sources on the ground during January 6th. And I told you I would get you the definitive answer to that, and we have. And we are in the process, again, of working with our partners to divulge that information, and it is coming. And I will tell you this. The answer to that question will surprise and shock people because of what past FBI leaders have said about it.
Former FBI Director Chris Wray eventually admitted to Congress there were 26 FBI confidential human sources in around the Capitol January 6th, but not actual agents. Can you say that's true? Are there more than that? What you're learning from that?
I can say that that is definitely a piece of the truth. Why it took a ton of time for and questioning in Congress for the director to get that point is what I'm trying to eliminate from the FBI. If Congress asks you a question under oath, whether or not there were sources in around January 6th at the Capitol, you as the director of the FBI need to know that and not deflect and give a DC answer. You have to be prepared for that. And that's the answer we're giving. That's the answer Chris Wray should have given.
And eventually everybody's going to know the whole picture.
Yeah, because the American people deserve that. And look, no one's more frustrated than me. Remember, I was chief of staff of the Department of Defense on January 6th. We said that we were ready, and the president had previously authorized the National Guard to be there days in advance. I spent 2 years, a small fortune, grand juries, to testify to the truth. And what happens now, years later? We were right. Bowser and Pelosi rejected that offer. And instead of figuring out how to prevent security lapses like that ever again, the American public spent tens of millions of dollars and countless hours on TV listening to conspiracy theories because those in positions of leadership failed to tell the American public the truth.
We finally get some answers that we've all been wondering. How many federal informants were there on January 6th? How many of them took part in crimes? Now, I've had federal FBI agents here on the show, former FBI agents, and asked them, what the prerequisite is for those people to partake in criminal acts. Stoking riots, getting people riled up, whether it be Antifa or whoever was there, causing what they call an insurrection. I was down at the Ellipse on that day, filming for Fox News. I saw not 1 ounce of violence. We've got so much footage that we put out on Fox News when I was there. And I probably spent 3 or 4 hours there with my photographer, who's going to be with me again in D.C. on Wednesday. I saw no criminal acts. I saw nobody rioting or looting or burning things down. I saw a bunch of happy people. Well, they weren't exactly happy. They were happy to see President Trump, but happy in the sense that they believed that we were going to be able to get our country back from these people who had stolen election. And, I saw no acts of violence, as I said, and none of that. And then just hours later, not even hours later, I head back to the office in Washington, D.C., and they tell me everything's locked down. There's bomb threats here, bomb threats. And I say to myself, how is this possible that I was just down there an hour or so ago and everything was peaceful? People were singing, rallying, dancing, kids, husbands, wives, children, everybody. It was like a massive picnic. And just an hour later, it turns into this massive firebomb of breaking windows in the Capitol. It didn't make much sense. I didn't even know there was a march going up to the Capitol. I don't think most people did. Nobody. And somehow, by the way, for those of you who haven't been in D.C., from where January 6th, where Donald Trump gave his speech, up to the Capitol, it's not exactly a short walk. It's a good half-hour walk. If you're walking at a regular pace up to the Capitol. I was in a car, and somehow, in that short period of time, the Capitol's burning down. Windows are being broken. People are hanging from inside the chambers. Guys walking out the door with a lectern. Another guy got his feet on the desk of Nancy Pelosi. And people are being shot. Not Secret Service agents, not Capitol Police agents. People who were there to support Donald Trump being shot and killed. So it's still a mystery to me, and I think a mystery to so many, how that day that was peaceful turned into such chaos. And, they say history always repeats itself, and the government probably had their hand in it. I shouldn't even say probably, like 99% sure the government had their hand in it. And everything that happened with the violence that day, the barricades, the fires, the broken windows, you remember the scaffold commander, was premeditated on behalf of a certain group of people, whether it be the FBI or government informants or Antifa. That's who I believe did the destruction that day. And I think that's what a lot of people believe, but we never got a solid answer on it. As you heard Kash Patel say, we had to wait months, years to find out that there were any government informants. They knew on that day that there were government informants there. They knew the next day. They knew for the next 2 years, for the next 4 years, when they started a whole January 6th sham committee, that they knew that there were government informants there. Yet they waited and waited and waited and waited. Why? If you had nothing to hide, what were you hiding by not telling us? By the way, they said there was 20-something government informants there. I'm calling bullshit on that. There was hundreds of government informants there, whether informants, FBI agents, whatever. You can go look at every picture, anyone wearing tan pants and a quarter-zip sweater. I'm calling total BS. 20-something people there. We know that's a lie. But the government continues to lie to us, and they lie and they lie. I have faith in Kash Patel that he's going to do the right thing, and he's going to get to the bottom of it, and he's going to be truthful to the American people about what happened on that day. Because on that day and the 2020 election, the day of the 2020 election, are 2 days that I think America needs to know what happened on so we can get some closure. Donald Trump needs closure and vindication. He's already gotten vindicated multiple times, but vindication that he did nothing wrong on that day. That those insurrections were influenced by the United States government. by deep state intel people who wanted Donald Trump gone, or wanted a way to finally get rid of him. Now, I bet if you told them to go back 4 years from today and asked them if they would do it again, I don't think they would, because it only made Donald Trump stronger. Everything they did to him made him stronger. Teflon Don is an understatement. They indicted him 150 times, made him stronger. Mugshotted him, perp walked him. It made him stronger. Tried to kill him. It made him stronger. Tried to kill him again. It made him stronger. So maybe this time around, the Democrats get the hint that no matter how much bad you want to do to this man, it's only going to make him stronger. We'll see. Before we wrap up, big story, the Biden auto pen scandal. Executive orders, legislation, very, very interesting stuff. James Comr, who we're going to be with this week, was on Fox News over the weekend talking about the implication it may have for Joe Biden.
Is it not a felony to lie in front of Congress?
Absolutely. And we issued criminal referrals. Hunter Biden committed perjury. Jim Biden lied in front of Congress. And there are others in other investigations who have lied, and there's been no accountability. So we're certainly going to continue to investigate, but we're desperately seeking accountability from the Department of Justice, and hopefully that'll happen, because when you talk about using the auto pen to sign these executive orders were many meant to Trump-proof this White House. And if we can find information that would lead us to believe that Joe Biden had no knowledge of those executive orders being signed in his name, then I think that the Trump administration could get them thrown out in court, and then Trump would be able to execute his agenda a whole lot easier without all the Trump-proofing that happened with the auto pen at the end of the Biden administration.
Well, I mean, it's just extraordinary to me. Look at how all of these policies have.
We're going to talk to James Comr about this week and try to get to the bottom of it. But I think it does pose serious implication for the Biden crime family and whoever was involved. They're alleging that there was 8 or 9 people, and they know who they are, were involved in this whole auto pen scandal. So, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And, you're talking with someone on the Hill today. James Comr doesn't have the power to go arrest anybody. Neither does Jim Jordan. You often hear people saying, well, we're tired of strongly worded letters. All they can do is the investigation. And nobody's harder on Republicans than myself. But all they can do is the investigation, and they can pass down criminal referrals, where it's then the FBI or the Justice Department's job to either go get them or to charge them or bring them in for interrogation. And Comr has issued many criminal referrals. Merrick Garland's DOJ decided not to take them up. They protected Hunter Biden through and through, members of the Biden crime family. So there's only so much that these guys can do. And I think James Comr did a very honorable and good job in his investigations, very thorough, very forthcoming, very transparent along the way about everything they found. And he handed a referral to the Justice Department before they left the Congress for this term, for the session. And Merrick Garland, of course, let it go by the wayside because he was just as complicit as the Biden crime family and everybody in it. So what are you supposed to do when the Justice Department doesn't want to work? It is what it is. So there's nothing, it's why I don't hold ill will towards these people, because I know what the process is and I know what they can and can't do. So now it's on Pam Bondi. She's got to take these criminal referrals or whatever she's given and push them forward to where they need to go to finally hold people accountable for the crimes that were committed. If auto pens were used, we need to get to the bottom of it. If pardons were issued on people that Joe Biden didn't know he was pardoning, we need to get to the bottom of it. We need to find out if those are legal pardons. In my opinion, they're not. So we need to get to the bottom of all that and much, much more. That's all for us today. Tomorrow, we're going to have another really good show. We're going to take up some Pride Month stuff. We all thought it was gone, but it seems things are getting weirder and weirder and weirder. Airlines going fully gay with trans and pride flags on everything you touch. Canada, their airline, Canadian Airlines, flew their first LGBTQX+ flight. Like, it makes a difference. It's so totally absurd. We're going to take that up tomorrow. Like I said, that's all for us tonight. That's all the time we have. We're going to see you back here tomorrow for the Great America Show, though, where our quest for truth, justice, and the American way continues against all odds, against all enemies, and all haters. We'll see you back here tomorrow, folks, for the Great America Show. Until then, may God bless you. May God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs. Have a great night, everybody.